your level of comfort, I encourage you to. It is really, it's really nice. It's very refreshing, whether it's compa music, whether it's a cappella, whether it's, Eastern, whatever it is. Venture out, explore a little bit. That's the music side of me. Okay, let's get to the nitty gritty. By the way, I've tried to film this now 4 different times, and the last time that I tried it, it was because my phone, or the last time, and it was a fail. It was because my phone was overheating, and my phone said, "Not today. Calm down." But not right now. So I said, so it just kind of stopped. And because I haven't seen what videos look like whenever they're paused or they just shut out or shut down and then to restart, I don't know if it would be really choppy, because I'm trying to maintain as much raw footage or as much unedited videos as possible, and I'll explain that in another video, which I've already recorded, but I don't know that I want to post it because I was really nervous in the beginning. Whatever, it's neither here nor there. Alright, so I was listening to a podcast from one of my favorite channels on YouTube, Abba and Preach. If y'all have not heard of their channel, I highly encourage y'all to go and watch it or listen to it. Their videos has the type of content. There we go. Good grief. Their content is the type of content that you can listen to. You don't necessarily have to watch. And so I listen to their content all the time, which I do for a lot of videos that I watch on YouTube. It's neither here nor there. Again, but what I was going to say is that they were responding to another YouTube video where a man was just bragging, just destroying Simone Biles, because he's outraged that she has withdrawn from the Olympics. I have some opinions about that, but I'm going to give my backstory, and then I will go from there and why I relate to what she was talking about. And then we'll go into, the importance of protecting your mental health and all of these things. So they're responding to this guy. I don't know him. I'm not interested in actually watching his video. I think the parts of his video that were damaging was presented enough in their videos, so I'm not going to bother watching his, and I don't want to give him views because he has a very skewed, immature, idiotic perspective on Simone Biles and her representing the U.S. So, some of the things that he called her was a psychopath, that she was weak, that she was selfish, just a few things. I'm going to try to figure out how to link the video that I'm referring to in the description box, which sounds very YouTube-y, but what else can I say? Anyway, I've never done it before, so if I can't figure it out, then I will just edit the little blurb in such a way that you'll know how to search and find the video that I'm referring to. But as they were talking about this, for whatever reason, it reminded me of something that happened to me when I was an undergrad that I literally have not thought about in years. And at this point, it would probably be about a decade, maybe more. So, backstory, for those of y'all who don't know, I have a background in music. I have degrees in music, my primary instrument being piano. That's not the only one that I can play, but that's the one that I can play the most advanced music in. Classically trained, yada, 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 yada. Not the point. I believe it was in my rising senior year. It must have been rising junior year. It must have been my rising junior year. Regardless, I know I was upperclassmen at that point. I was preparing for a rehearsal. So for those of you who don't know, whenever you are my memory's a little fuzzy because I don't know if I was doing practice jury. No, I was. Okay, so there was a practice jury. Sorry, y'all. I haven't thought about this in so long, so I'm trying to get the timeline correct. Okay, so there was a practice jury. However, I had a master class. I had a master class before the practice jury, and in the master classes when this all happened. So I was playing a piece, and I'll also link if I can find it. I should be able to find it. I'll link the piece that I was playing in the master class. My professor, shout out to, I'll call her Dr. Y. Dr. Y was amazing. She really pushed me. But the person that really catapulted my excellence in piano was Mr. W, who was my first instructor in college, and he retired, which I was so sad. But anyway, Dr. Y put me in a lot of master classes. Mr. W was really heavy on the performance, very advanced repertoire, blah, 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 blah. So I had learned a piece by Aaron Copland called Passacaglia, and it was extremely, extremely difficult. I'll talk about that piece in another video if y'all want me to. Y'all can go listen to it. It's a very modern piece. It has a lot of running motifs, and it's a lot. So it was one of my star pieces that I was going to perform, and for my jury. Well, like I said, it is extremely involved, and I remember choking while I was performing the piece for the master class. Now, let me go back. Mr. W, when I got to college, he told me, listen, you are going to spend a minimum of 4 hours of practice every day. Every day. That's a minimum. If you don't practice a minimum of 4 hours every day, we're not going to have a lesson each week. And that would have been a problem. Well, the type of student that I am, if they say you need to practice a minimum of 4, between 4 to 7, I'm going to hit that every single time. A minimum of 4. But if I knew, of course, that I needed to practice more, then, I wasn't going to just be okay with just hitting the 4 hours. So, I was really dedicated to it. Now, I would practice, obviously, in high school. I was already a really advanced pianist when I was in high school. I did a lot of competitions. I did a lot of festivals, always had very high ratings, blah, blah, blah. But I would average about 2, maybe 3 hours, depending on what I was preparing for. It's a far cry from you must make a minimum of 4. Now, keep in mind, when I was in undergrad, I was a commuter. I was a commuter student. Going one way to school was a little over an hour. An hour to get to school. I was up by 5 to get to school by 6, to get parking at 7 so that I could be in my seat ready to go for my classes at 8 o'clock. Monday through Friday, all 4 years. All 4 years, mind you. Okay? So, keep in mind, not only do I have to take into account about 2.5 hours of commuting time, I had to get in actually attending class because, listen, I actually went to class. There wasn't that whole thing of, obviously I skipped classes sometimes, but it was either to sleep or to go get something to eat. That whole thing of just never going to class, I can't relate. I personally can't relate. So anyway, about 2.5 hours every day in commute time, actually having to attend my classes, actually have to study for those classes, and then actually have to practice my music. Mind you, I wasn't just practicing piano music because I also played flute. So I had to I had to practice a lot of music, get all of that in before I even got home. Okay, so it was exhausting. And I look back to this day, God kept me. I know for a fact because it was just so, it was so much work, y'all. Anyway, so back to the master class, right? So I'm playing passacaglia, still one of my favorite, most trying, most emotionally invested pieces that I've ever played before. Will probably remain one of my favorite pieces to perform to the day I die, but it is extremely involved. Well, there's this one part of the song where it takes so much dedication to what's going on, and it doesn't matter how many times I've played that piece. Every time I get to that section of the music, I had to be all in, and I mean all in, high alert, ready to go, like almost thinking about every single note, like the way that it looked on the page, by fingering the way that I was, everything. Well, during the master class, as I was getting to that point in the piece, my brain just, it wasn't there anymore. And y'all are probably asking, what the heck does that even mean? It means that it wasn't there anymore. And I remember having a very out-of-body experience. I was very aware that all of these bones, I could feel all of this moving. I saw my hands playing. I didn't know what was going on, y'all. It was the most eerie thing I have ever experienced, ever. And for about 10 seconds, I was completely playing from muscle memory. Muscle memory is where your body can go into autopilot because it has already been conditioned to do something based on the muscles that have been trained to do certain patterns, right? So my body was completely working on muscle memory, and I was petrified. I was petrified because that part of the piece especially was not a part of the piece that could be played on muscle memory at all. At all. Even if it's down pat, it is not something that you can think, okay, I'm getting through it, okay, I'm about to get to the next part. Whew. No, it is all hands on deck. Once you get past that, okay, now we can breathe. But until then, it's all hands on deck, right? So hang on, y'all, 1 second. Okay. Oh gosh, if this is the line for the Smoothie King, I'm gonna have to go somewhere else, and I'm pretty sure that it is, and I don't have time for that, so I'm gonna go to the new location because I'm not doing that. Anyway, so yeah, I was freaking out, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna make it. I'm doing this, but I'm not looking at anything. It was like I was trying to keep my balance on a bike, on a tripwire or something with a blindfold. I was dead in the water. I didn't know what the heck was going on. I was petrified, and after a while, the muscle memory failed me because I was so aware that I didn't know what the heck was going on. So I stopped, and I said, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I was in autopilot, and I got lost. And they said, it's okay, and I was so mad at myself because I'd never done that before, and I didn't know how to handle it because I had never done that before. I had never experienced that before. I was so stressed out. There was so much that was going on, not just in school, but at home. Not a good situation by any stretch of the imagination. It was just a lot going on, and I wasn't coping well. So I had to start again. It happened again. And then one of the professors They were actually from University of Illinois, Champaign, I believe. Amazing couple. But one of them, I think it was the wife, went to go get the music, and through tears I had to look at the music, remind myself of where I was, and then start back. So why am I sharing that with y'all? I'm sharing that because Simone Biles was talking about how she got lost in the air, and more of the information was, or excuse me, there was more coverage about, you know, what she was referring to, that those are called the twisties apparently in gymnastics and things like that. And so when I first watched her video, I thought, when I first watched the coverage of how she backed out, at first I thought, now wait a minute, you can't be so hard on yourself that, you know, you have a less than stellar, less than perfect performance, and now you just want to back out. Wait a minute, hold up. Somebody needs to talk to her. It's okay. But then that I was reminded of my own story. And then I thought, y'all, I get it. Now, keep in mind, that's on a college level, okay? I was practicing like crazy. I had some crazy advanced music. I wasn't just, you know, performing, you know, solo work. I was also doing, it was just a lot, okay? Now, think of that level of dedication in gymnastics, where it is one of the most dangerous sports in the world, and any wrong misstep could end your life. And that's not being dramatic, it is reality. When I tell you that I don't know that I would want to encourage my son or daughter to pursue gymnastics, boxing, or football because of the dangers, I could never. So when the guy that they're responding to was talking about, you know, how, you know, you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to blah blah blah, it was just, it blew my mind. It's something that if you've never had to dedicate yourself to that level of sacrifice and dedication, that level, I just said dedicate 2 times. If you've never had to commit yourself to such an extreme and vigorous level of dedication and training and discipline, and you have no idea what it's like, okay? You have no idea. And I'm just talking just from the music side. You know, I ran cross country, but I was, you know, all I'm saying is I can relate to her from that perspective. Let's also keep in mind that all of these athletes are performing at optimal levels during a worldwide pandemic. Okay? I don't know about y'all, but it took a major toll on me just to be able to, or just to have to work every day on site. Every day. I was terrified because I have a low tolerance upper respiratory system, and it was terrifying. On top of the fact of just knowing that this deadly illness is wiping people out, entire families, it's taking lives, right? So you have that going on. So all these athletes have not only trained for an Olympic event that was supposed to happen the year before, right? So you think that mentally you're pacing yourself out to 2020, then is postponed for the first time in history for another year, then you have to recalibrate yourself again to continue fighting through all that, right? So you have that stress. Then you have the stress of, it's just so much that is a part of that, okay? Then let's take a look at just Simone Biles herself. She has put herself, rightfully so, in a category of her own, right? So the pressure to continue performing at the optimal level is just astronomical. And after a while, it started grinding my gears to the extent that people were pedestalizing her. And that sounds like I'm coming from a hater's perspective, but it's quite the opposite. It's more so that we needed to protect her mental health. Because once a person feels like they have to maintain a standard of perfection, y'all, it really does mess with the psyche. And I find it interesting, just as a side note, that during this whole situation with Simone, that we haven't circled back around to Naomi Osaka. She was smeared, absolutely smeared, for withdrawing from, I think it was the French Open, because of her mental health and her anxiety and stuff. But now we're praising Simone Biles. Like, we have to keep it across the board. Maybe she was the one that kind of was a part of the push or the movement for supporting mental health. Maybe she was the one to fall on the sword for the greater good of everyone else. But I still feel really bad for Naomi. I love Naomi. She's amazing. I feel like in a past life we would totally be friends, but whatever. Anyway, so to the extent that we pedestalize people, is really sickening, because we make them, we create this image of them that they are gods, that they're untouchable, and some people will go down in history as people who cannot be touched because of their amazing accomplishments. But to the extent that we're doing it, it is damaging. Now, am I saying that Simone did was right? No. But I do think that she was right in doing what she did, because as I was reading more about the twisties, it said the twisties in gymnastics apparently is when you get lost in the air. And one false move and you're dead, or you're paralyzed for life, or whatever. We've seen and heard so many stories of this in gymnastics, right? So, and with Simone Biles literally creating whole moves that no one has ever done before, they're so risky, and I wince and cringe every time, because I'm hoping that she sticks to the landing, and I'm hoping that it's perfect and everything, not because of her legendary reputation, but for her safety. So yeah, if you're getting lost in the air, and even looking at the slowed down effects, hang on, let me make sure I can, is it further down? I think it is further down. For the slowed down replays, you could see how she was running down, for the vault event especially, when she was running down the runway, I guess, that by the time she hit the table to vault, she was already off center, and then as she was in the air, she was flying through the air at an angle, and then of course her landing was off. So I wouldn't want to risk it either. And for somebody to have those sorts of opinions, you have no idea what it's like. Now, there is a space for people to say, stick it out, work through it, yada, yada, yada. That is not the case here. Let's also remember that Simone Biles cakes, and they actually mentioned this, Abba and Preach mentioned this, Abba specifically mentioned this, and I'm glad that he did, because I had also read about this, that Simone Biles cannot take her ADHD medication because it's been banned. So it's not just because she's off, she cannot concentrate. You cannot afford, a gymnast, cannot afford to not concentrate while doing those incredibly dangerous and very involved routines that they do. You can't afford it. So I don't want to hear it. There's people who were complaining that they were, that they were in their house all pandemic. Do you know what a blessing that is? What a blessing that was, depending on how your life is, and people are complaining. They're already going out of their mind about that. And then you want to add the pressures of everything else. Calm down, dude. I just found it to be absolutely disgusting. If you want to do it, you go do it. How about that? If you're so angry, you go and represent the U.S. I also saw on TV that there's college students that aren't supporting the U.S. team, the Olympic U.S. teams. The pandemic should have taught people humanity, if nothing else. And it is just so disappointing to see that so many people have not taken advantage of that opportunity. And I can say that because I've seen it on a social level, and I've seen it on a personal level, and I've also seen it on a professional level. But I won't talk about that right now. But it's just egregious that people, the same people, mind you, that you could almost put money on, were taking advantage of stimulus checks, staying home, doing all these things in the comfort of their own homes, have turned around and now just bitingly aggressive for no reason. You're talking from a perspective that you know nothing about, okay? And I can't even relate to the professional athletes on a sports perspective. I'm only thinking of it from a matriculating, musician who has had to, just what was that, dude? Really, dude? Okay. These kids. Anyway, yeah, it's just crazy. I don't understand what all this is about. I do think that there does need to be more. There needs to be more conversations. I'm sorry, this kid is just like, Anyway, there do need to be more conversations about resilience in kids. There does need to be more. We have seen a shift in things, but this is not the same thing. So I just find it incredibly disappointing. So when it comes to mental health, a lot of people want to cite, prior generations and things of that nature, saying that, well, they did it. They pushed through and whatever. That is true. And then you also see the side effects of what that looked like. There's a reason why a whole generation of veterans were called the silent generation. The atrocities that they went through in the war were just, it was too much for them to handle. And then, of course, that comes out through PTSD, through substance and alcohol misuse, crimes, I mean, you name it. So just because somebody pushes through something, and just because the generations prior did it, that doesn't mean that that was the best option. It means that it was the only option. Okay. Also, the society that we live in now, and with the advancements that we have, thankfully, that have happened in mental health, has supported a bigger, more open conversation about mental health and how it affects us mentally, psychologically, physically, emotionally, you name it. So the times are different. The circumstances are different. The environment is different. Social expectations are different. It's all different. So I don't like to hear when people pick and choose when you're not taking into consideration the entire thing. It's apples and oranges. You can't look at a spoiled kid and say, this generation is messed up, and compare that with, a Naomi Osaka or a Simone Biles. Quite frankly, you shouldn't have an opinion at all, because you don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, that's kind of my spiel. I just wanted to go on here and share my story because I hadn't thought about it in so long. And I didn't even talk about the actual jury. Not the actual jury, the practice jury, because I said that there was a master class and then there was a practice jury, but I think y'all get the point. Anyway, I'm glad that I ended up coming to this location for my smoothie, because it's a lot shorter. It's one of my little traditions. I have to get my $5 smoothie from Smoothie King, even though I missed many weeks because I've been trying to watch my sugar intake. But I've been doing really well on my fitness this week, so I said I'm going to treat myself. So, treating myself I will. Upcoming video will be a part of a series that I want to do. I want to name it My Unpopular Opinion or something along those lines, but I already have a list of about 25 different things that detail my opinion of that do not align with current society opinions in a lot of ways, and I'm fine with that, but I just want to use my platform to kind of get it out. So we will be doing that. I say it's 25, but I will probably do like 10 at a time or something like that, so we'll see. But I hope y'all have a great day. It's almost time for me to order, so I will talk to y'all later. Thanks for listening. I know this was really long, but I think that it was important enough for me to come on here and talk about it. Obviously, mental health this won't be the only time that I talk about the importance of mental health and, being brave enough to advocate for yourself when it comes to that. But it was good enough for me to talk about at the moment. So, time for me to order. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.